Feral by Night is a storytelling series of eerie tales and all the things that go bump in the night. I'm Papa G, and this is Feral by Night. Free episodes release every week, but premium members on Patreon or Buzzsprout can double their weekly stories with extra subscriber-only episodes. So turn the lights down and settle in. Some stories are better heard after dark. The cradle started rocking on the same night Carol heard something crying above the bedroom ceiling. She woke with one hand pressed to her stomach. The baby shifted under her palm, and for a few seconds she thought the sound had come from a dream. Then it came again, thin and tired, from somewhere overhead. Lyle was asleep beside her with one arm over his face. Carol listened until the house went quiet. The old place made plenty of sounds at night. Pipes ticked, floorboards settled, and wind pushed against the loose back window. She had learned those noises since they moved in, and this wasn't one of them. In the morning, she told Lyle there was something in the attic. He pulled the ladder down after breakfast and went up first with a flashlight. Carol stood on the ladder below him and watched the beams slide over insulation, boxes, rolled rugs, and a wooden cradle tucked under the eaves. It sat near the far wall, half covered with an old sheet. Lyle said it must have belonged to his grandmother Inez. The house had come through her family, though most of the old furniture had been cleared out years ago. Carol had never heard anyone mention a cradle. The cradle was small and dark, with wood gone almost black at the edges. A faded blue blanket lay folded inside it. Around one rail, someone had tied a thin red cord with a little cloth charm hanging from it, sewn shut with black thread. Carol asked what was inside. Lyle said he didn't know, and he didn't try to open it. He told her old people tied all kinds of things to baby beds. Red thread against trouble, a charm to keep bad eyes away, a little prayer folded in cloth. He had heard Inez talk that way when he was a child, but he had never paid much attention. Carol wanted him to leave it where it was. Lyle wanted to bring it down and clean it. Money was tight, the baby was coming in 6 weeks, and a family cradle felt like a thing to be grateful for. By noon, it was in the spare room. Carol washed the blanket twice and hung it over the porch rail in the sun. Lyle wiped the cradle down with lemon oil and fixed one loose rocker. By evening, it looked almost sweet near the window, with the nursery half painted and a box of diapers still unopened in the corner. That night, the rocking began. At first it was slow, a soft knock of wood against floorboards from the spare room across the hall. Lyle got up and checked it. He came back saying the floor was uneven, and the cradle must have shifted when the heat came on. Carol wanted to believe him, so she did. The next night, the rocking was faster. The third night, it woke them both. The cradle hit the floor hard enough to make their bedroom picture tremble. Lyle turned on the hall light and went into the nursery while Carol sat up in bed. When he stayed quiet too long, Carol stepped into the doorway and saw the cradle rocking on its own. It moved in short, angry jerks, back and forth, as if someone was pushing it from inside. The blue blanket lay folded at the bottom, and the little cloth charm swung from the rail. Lyle grabbed the cradle with both hands, and it stopped so suddenly, the room felt wrong. The next morning, he carried it back to the attic. He said the wood was warped, and they didn't need old furniture in the nursery anyway. Carol watched him climb the ladder and shove the cradle back beneath the eaves, blanket, charm, and all. For the rest of the day, the house felt better. Carol painted the final strip of wall. Lyle assembled the changing table. They ate dinner in front of the television and almost laughed about how easily a tired couple could scare themselves. That night, the cradle rocked above them. This time it was directly over their bed, scraping against the attic floor. Carol opened her eyes and listened to it move through the dark above her. It rocked harder and harder until dust drifted down from the ceiling light. Then the crying started again. Lyle went up with a hammer, though neither of them knew what he meant to do with it. Carol waited at the bottom of the ladder. She heard his footsteps cross the attic. Then the rocking stopped. When Lyle said her name from above, his voice sounded thin. The cradle was in the middle of the attic over their bedroom, even though he had shoved it beneath the eaves that morning. The blue blanket was unfolded now. In the center of it was a yellowed card with the name Ruthie written in pencil. Lyle brought the card down and sat with it at the kitchen table until after midnight. He said there had been a Ruthie in the family, but no one talked about her. He only knew the name because he had seen it once in an old Bible at Inez's house, written between two other births with no date beside it. The next day, he called his mother. Carol listened from the kitchen while he asked careful questions and got careful answers back. His mother remembered hearing that Inez had a baby sister who died young. Maybe fever, maybe winter, maybe before anyone took a proper photograph. The story had shifted over time until it became one of those family things everyone knew enough to avoid. When Lyle asked about the cradle, his mother went quiet. Then she told him Inez used to say some cradles should stay empty once they had failed a child. Carol felt the baby move hard under her ribs. That evening, she found a photograph tucked behind the old water heater in the basement. It showed a woman Carol didn't know standing beside the same cradle. The room around her looked like the upstairs bedroom before they painted it. On the cradle rail was the red cord and cloth charm. The cradle was empty. Carol brought the photograph upstairs. On the back, it just said, Ruthie. Lyle read it twice and set it down like it had burned his fingers. He said they were calling someone in the morning, maybe a priest, maybe an estate cleaner, maybe anyone who knew what to do with old family things that wouldn't stay where they were put. Carol said she wanted the cradle out of the house that night. They carried it down together just before sunset, moving slowly because of the baby. At the back door, the little charm caught on Carol's sleeve and tore open. A pinch of gray dust, a curl of pale hair, and a folded scrap of paper spilled onto the floor. Lyle unfolded the paper with shaking hands. The writing was old and faded, but clear enough to read. Let the next child answer. Carol felt the baby go still. Neither of them spoke for a while. Then Lyle gathered the charm, the hair, the dust, and the paper into a plastic bag. Carol told him to put the cradle outside. He carried it to the curb and tied a rope around it so it couldn't rock. At 2 a.m, the rope snapped. Carol and Lyle heard it from the bedroom, a sharp crack outside, then wood rocking against pavement. Carol went to the window before Lyle could stop her. The cradle was in the middle of the street, rocking under the streetlight with the blue blanket tucked inside it. No wind moved the trees. No car passed. The cradle rocked like someone stood beside it with both hands on the rail. Then it turned just enough for the open side to face Carol's window, and the baby kicked hard enough to make her gasp. Lyle dragged the cradle into the garage and locked the door. By morning, the room smelled like baby powder and sour milk, and the blanket was damp and bunched in the center, as if something small had slept in it. Carol called the woman from the County Historical Society because she didn't know who else to call without sounding insane. The woman knew Inez's name and the house. She said there had been a story about a baby who disappeared from a cradle during a storm. Some said the child died and the family hid the shame. Others said Inez heard it rocking for years after, even when the house was full of people. The woman asked whether the red charm was still tied to it. Carol said it had torn. The woman told her that was bad, then apologized as if good manners could fix what she'd said. That afternoon, Lyle took the cradle apart in the driveway. He removed the rails, rockers, and side panels, then stacked the pieces in the fire pit. Carol watched from the porch. The cradle burned badly. The smoke crawled low across the yard instead of rising. The red cord blackened but didn't break. The blue blanket caught at one corner and then went out. Lyle stayed with the fire until there was nothing left but wet ash and 2 curved pieces of rocker that refused to burn down. That night, the nursery door opened by itself. Carol woke to the sound of the hinges. Lyle wasn't in bed, and for one terrible second, she thought he had gone into the nursery in his sleep. Then she heard him downstairs checking the locks. The rocking came from across the hall. Carol got up slowly. The nursery was dark except for the nightlight near the changing table. The cradle stood by the window again, whole, polished, and waiting. The blue blanket was folded inside it. The red charm hung from the rail, sewn shut with black thread. Only now there were 2 names scratched into the wood. Ruthie was carved on one side. The baby's name, the private name Carol and Lyle had only whispered to each other once, was carved on the other. Carol backed away with one hand over her mouth. Behind her, Lyle came up the stairs and stopped so suddenly that the floor creaked. He saw the name too. He didn't ask how it got there. He only put his arm around Carol and moved her toward the stairs. The cradle rocked once, and the baby inside Carol moved with it. They left before dawn and drove to his mother's house. Carol took nothing from the nursery. Lyle took the old Bible from the attic, the photograph from the basement, and the torn charm in its plastic bag. He said someone needed to know the whole story now, because secrets had kept the cradle strong. Carol stayed away from the house for 3 days. On the 4th, she returned with Lyle and his mother to gather clothes, medical papers, and whatever they needed before staying somewhere else until the baby came. The house looked calm in daylight. The nursery door was closed, and the hallway smelled faintly of smoke and baby powder. Lyle opened the nursery door first. The cradle was empty. For a moment, that was almost a relief. The room was still. The window was shut. The charm was gone from the rail. There was only the old blue blanket folded neatly in the bottom. Then Carol saw the blanket rise and fall once, like something underneath had just taken a breath. Lyle reached in and snatched the blanket back. There was nothing under it. Carol stepped closer before anyone could stop her. The cradle was empty, but the hollow in the blanket was the size of a newborn child. When she touched it, the cloth was warm. From the attic above them, something began to cry. Feral by Night is the sister podcast to The Feral Folklorist. You can find information for both podcasts at feralfolklorist.com. If you'd like more Feral by Night each week, premium members on Patreon or Buzzsprout get extra subscriber-only episodes that don't appear on the public feed. You can become a patron at patreon.com/PapaG or subscribe through the Buzzsprout premium membership options. And if you're ever in the market for metaphysical supplies, our store, Aromagees Botanica, has been weaving magic for over 25 years. That's over at aromagees.com.